Tyler, you're live with Eric and V. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good.
Good.
Thanks. So my argument is that the God of the Bible must exist because the universe is triune in nature, which points to a triune God as the creator of the universe. So because the essence of the God of the Bible is a Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and they must all exist together at the same time. You cannot have God without any of these three elements coexisting at the same time. And the essence of the universe is also a trinity because it is composed of time, space, and matter. And you cannot have a universe that is not composed of one of these elements. It can't be composed of partly time or partly space or partly matter. It has to come into existence at the same time.
Sure. So you're saying like the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit are like the Power Rangers, and there's the Time Ranger, the Space Ranger, and the Matter Ranger, and they correspond. Right.
Basically, So basically, that's basically what I'm saying. Yeah.
Okay. I'm glad we're in agreement and we can move forward here. The Trinity is a really, really interesting thing. So first, can I ask you, because I love talking about the Trinity, but I want to make sure that we're on the same page because I get a lot of accusations that I've jumped off, and I really want to make sure that we go down this path together, Tyler. So if I were to show you that the Trinity is nonsensical, that it actually cannot be a thing, what would that do for your faith? What would that do for your religious views?
Actually, that would strengthen it because I don't think the God of the entire universe should be able to be fit into our 3-pound brain, because if he was able to, I don't think that he would be God, because we are limited in our understanding of the universe, and God is unlimited. He's infinite. We are finite. So,
well, I mean, that is definitely a claim that you are making. And that is definitely something that you are saying as a thing. I can say the same thing about any number of fictitious beings. But when the rubber meets the road, that's when we really get cooking. That's when we really get talking. So let's start there, right? You would believe more if you're wrong, and you believe that you're right. So if either way leads to belief, then what's the point of this conversation?
It's not that I'm wrong. It's that our lack of understanding of the nature of God proves that God really is beyond our understanding. Which
no, it doesn't.
Does more to contribute to his existence. Wait, it doesn't?
No, it doesn't.
My lack of understanding Trig is proof that Trig is God.
Well, because you do accept that we are finite beings with limited understanding.
Yeah, I also understand that just because we understand things to be finite does not mean that an infinite has to exist. Right?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so show me that infinite is there. Show me that there's a living thing that is. I mean, there are so many parts to it. No. We're going on rabbit holes, and I'm the one leading it. Let's stop. Hold on. Trinity. Let's get back to the Trinity. I'm sorry. I'm so excited to talk to other humans after being locked away because of fucking coronavirus. Tyler, let's go back. Trinity. Can someone be both 1 and 3 at the same time?
Can a person be both 1 and 3 at the same time?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Why?
Because we are not infinite. We are created beings. We are not at the level of God. We are below him.
Okay, so we have identity, and we have non-contradiction, and we have the excluded middle. Right? That's how we understand things. A thing is what it is. It's not what it's not. And it can't be what it is and what it isn't at the same time. Right? That's those are the laws of logic. That's just them's the breaks.
Right.
Okay. I would say that the Trinity violates the laws of logic.
I would say it doesn't.
Okay.
How does
So
it violate the laws of logic?
okay. So let's take a look. You're saying one person can be three people. So are you a polytheist? Do you believe in three gods?
I do not.
Okay. So you're a monotheist. You believe in one God.
Right.
Okay. So then there is no Trinity. Unless
He
you're
is one being composed of three persons. He is the being itself.
okay. So are you talking about like relationships? Like I am a son, I am a brother, and I am a friend? Because that still makes me one person.
Well, yeah, that's true. See, I mean, that kind of illustrates the Trinity somewhat. But
Sure,
really
which means that you're not a Trinitarian.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying that's why I'm saying somewhat, because there's no analogy that perfectly demonstrates the Trinity, because it is beyond our understanding.
No, what beyond our understanding is a really, really, really good way of saying I'm right, even though I can't show that I'm right.
Well, actually, that leads me to my next point.
I bet it does. Hold on. Do you think that is a good way to approach the world? I'm right, even though I can't show that I'm right, and I know that I'm right, and I can't be wrong. Because if I'm wrong, then I'm definitely sure that I'm right. What?
Well, no, I was going to present something that leads us to conclude that this is right.
That you're right. I'm sure. How can you be wrong?
How can I be wrong?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like, if there's evidence that proves that what I'm saying is not true, then I'm wrong?
Well, is there any way to show that you might be incorrect? Is there any way to test whether or not it's true? Let me give you a parallel example, right? The Matrix. Do you remember the Matrix movies?
No, I was born after they came out.
You just made me feel real old, Tyler. You just made me feel real old. That's okay. So the idea is that your brain is, all of these electric and chemical signals that are shooting around, that it all boils down to our sensory experiences, that we could actually just be living in a simulation, right? And how can we determine whether or not we're living in a simulation? You can't.
Yeah.
Are we in the Matrix? I don't know. All I know is whether we are in the Matrix or not in the Matrix, we can't show that we are. It's just an extra framework that we're adding onto things. So you have this idea that's unfalsifiable, which means we cannot test whether or not it's true, right? So what is the position? The position is, are we going to accept it or are we not, right? It's the same as, Bigfoot. Does Bigfoot exist? Well, so far there's no evidence of Bigfoot. We haven't been able to catch one. Especially now that everybody carries phones in their pockets, Bigfoot sightings have dropped. Same with the Loch Ness Monster. The time to believe a thing is when there's evidence for it. And so we need to look at what is evidence and how do we determine whether or not that evidence comports with reality and what that points to, right? How can you be wrong? What evidence do you have that can go, okay, here is what it would look like if there was no God. Here's what it would look like if there is a God. And I determined that it's more likely that there is a God because of X, Y, and Z. I mean, you have to understand that that's kind of how you understand things. That's how you process it, right?
Well, no, not necessarily, because there's also other supporting evidence that demonstrates that the God of the Bible exists. This is just one of the concepts that does.
So I've got a question then. So you're saying that we should look at the triune nature of the universe, space, time, and matter, to prove that God is three in one.
Right.
Okay. Well, actually, I would posit that the hobbits, Frodo, Sam, Merry, and Pippin, are real because there are four elements of the universe: space, time, matter, and energy. So where do we go with that?
Well, energy does exist, but it's not an essential component of the universe, because time, space, and matter are essential. You have to have a when to put it, you have to have a where to put it, and you have to have something to put there. You do not necessarily have to have energy.
Sure about that, bud?
Yeah, I mean, you don't necessarily have to have energy for something to exist. You just need to have a what, a when, and a where.
Well,
Okay.
we're not talking about something existing. We're talking about this universe. And this universe has
exactly.
energy in it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, the universe. Yeah.
Okay. So my broader question here was, all right, you used an example to prove your theory. I used the same example to prove my theory. Who's right?
Well, energy is not it's not an essential component of the universe.
Okay. How about fire, water, earth, and wind?
I could go on and on
those
about
are
the
not
elements,
essential either.
but that's another thing.
Well, yeah,
North, south,
but
east, and west.
to the existence of the universe.
Or the five senses.
Sure.
We can pull numbers.
How about
that
the humors?
Are oh my god.
Or any of those required for the universe to exist, though.
So basically what you're doing is you're taking an idea that is not substantiated and framing it on top of something completely unrelated to try and justify it. That makes no sense. Are the Power Rangers? It's just like the idea of the Power Rangers. It doesn't comport. Your claim actually needs to stand or fall on its own merits.
Well, no, because the Power Rangers are not three and one coming together instantaneously.
Okay, so let's look at it this way, right? There are so many fallacious things here that I feel like we could take pot shots all day, and it's nothing about you as a person. It's just the idea, I think, is a very flawed one. Let's take a look at the fallacy of composition,
Yeah.
right? So I have a car, right? And I take the steering wheel out and I walk in. Am I holding a car?
I don't know.
No, you're definitely not. I'm definitely not holding a car. I'm holding a piece of a car, right? Just because
True.
right.
Well, yeah, but you can say you're holding a piece of a car, yeah.
Yes.
But that's not an essential component of the car.
Have you tried driving a car without a steering wheel recently?
Well, yes, but it's not. They're not dependent on each other. They're not. You can have a car without a steering wheel; it just won't work.
Okay, so
And
then we
I'll
get to the
have
ship of
God
atheist
Father
problem, which is
for
how
me.
much of the car can you take away before the car ceases to be a car?
Yeah.
But this is just playing mind games at this point. Ultimately, the problem
Well, you
is
can
that
take away some things.
well, yeah, but the problem here is that this is basically the same conversation we had with the other caller, Joel, who was trying to say that I can prove God by pointing to properties in the universe that correspond to my definition of God. And we said on that call, that's not something we can verify. That's not a good way to find evidence for things. And I'm running into that same problem with you. You're giving a definition of your God, and you're pointing to things that you've picked in the universe to prop that up. But I can give you a different definition of my God as something with four legs. Can we look at the universe and find something with four legs? Yes, there's a cat over there. That cat proves that my version of God exists.
Yeah, but the universe can't exist without a cat. It can't exist without time or space or matter.
So how does that prop up your God claim, Tyler?
Because the God of the Bible, like in the Old Testament, it refers to God as Elohim, which is plural, but it's still one God.
Right.
So that
So
demonstrates that this God is
okay.
a Trinity, which demonstrates that the Hebrews had supernatural knowledge of the universe, which they couldn't have had.
No. If that were the case, then we would be able to pull out the Old Testament and we would have been able to make huge advances in math and science way before they happened, because we would have been able to pull them out. What you're doing is called a post hoc rationalization. You're looking after the fact to see if you can lay on your understanding of the world, which is a whole lot more than I said I was not going to say Bronze Age goat herders anymore. The people who lived when there was a lot less scientific literacy, and you're just placing that on top. No. They do not have supernatural knowledge. Is your God so obscure that they would hide advanced information in a book that, what? It makes absolutely zero sense.
Well, what are they hiding?
What are they hiding? It's a book of fiction. What do you mean, what are they hiding?
Well, but what specifically are they hiding, though?
What are they? What do you mean? What are they hiding? What's being hidden?
You're the one who said that they were hiding something. What are they hiding specifically?
No.
I asked you: was your God hiding this supernatural knowledge of the triune nature of the universe in the Old Testament? If you just look hard enough, it makes no sense.
No, it's pretty simple to see because they refer to him as one Lord, and yet it's Elohim, which is plural. The only conclusion you can draw is that it is one God with multiple.
No, actually, I have an alternate conclusion to draw from that, and that is that when Genesis was written, way before the rest of the Bible was written, that there were more than one God, and Elohim, El, and Yahweh are different gods.
The proto-Hebrews were polytheists.
Right. When they say we will create man in our image, it's literally talking about multiple gods, because the ancient Hebrews in that point in time were polytheist.
You also have, references to, well, if humanity does this, if they eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, they will be like us.
Right. The plural in...
Exactly. 3 persons.
No, 3 gods.
That proves my point.
No.
Not even 3. Who knows if it's...
Sure, it could be 12 gods. You're right. It could be 20 gods. The idea, is it more likely that you have a society that was polytheistic that wound up becoming monotheistic? Or is it more likely that the triumvirate nature of the universe is expressed in the vague plurality that you're able to find in a book written by people you don't know, whose motives you don't know, with descriptions of things that can't possibly exist? There's so much vagary that we're not nailing down a single thing. I don't understand how we're getting.
Elohim, it's plural and one at the same time.
Okay, so how did you determine that we got to a triumvirate God through Elohim versus this counter that you had a tribe that moved from polytheism into monotheism? How did you determine that you're right and that other claim is wrong?
Well, because the same book that you were talking about, if that book had consistently referred to God as, multiple gods, then your claim would be true, but it doesn't do that. It's consistently the same book you're talking about that's written by the same people that are supposedly polytheistic is referring to God as one.
No, we're saying that it's a collection of books written across a span of time, and throughout that span of time, we started with polytheism and we moved into monotheism. So when it's all put together, it's kind of confusing, especially if you think that it's supposed to be inerrant. And so the way you get around that is to create a version of a God that is at once multiple gods and one God, instead of admitting that it's a historical group of documents.
He's not multiple gods. He's multiple persons.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and that makes zero sense. What does that even mean, multiple persons? And if you say, Tyler, it is beyond your human understanding, and therefore I'm right, I will hang up on you. So, I'm holding your feet to the fire here, Tyler. What does that mean, multiple persons, but the same being?
It means that he is composed of multiple aspects. Multiple aspects of him are expressed differently, but they are all part of the same being.
Okay, just like I'm a son, I'm a brother, I'm a friend, correct?
Kind of.
No, not kind of. Give me an example.
But we can't give an analogy.
Okay, so then how are you even where you are? You're off in the middle of nowhere, and you can't even describe it. Why should I follow you?
Well, I can describe it, but we can describe it. We can understand it, but not to the fullest extent.
Why not? Well, the fullest extent? Do I need to have a fullest extent of concept? Like, what are... Hold on. Actually, wait.
What?
There's a... We've got a little soundboard here, and I haven't used it yet.
What are we doing, man? What are we doing?
I love the soundboard. I haven't gotten to use it yet, but I feel like that's appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you agree. What are we doing, man?
Oh, I was just proving the existence of the God of the Bible.
Okay.
And you haven't offered a good counter to it. And keep in mind, this book was written thousands of years ago, so the fact that we can even draw a conclusion from the findings of these ancient, supposed, illiterate goat herders is pretty phenomenal in and of itself.
No, it is entirely not. Try again. I award you 0 points, sir. No. No. How about this? If your God really wanted to convey advanced scientific concepts, he wouldn't have hidden it away in stories and would have said, hey, here's the germ theory of disease. Hey, how about you don't own fucking people as property? Hey, why don't we treat women like equals? Hey, you know what we should do? We probably shouldn't advocate for genocide. Genocide's a bad thing. Hey, you know what? Actually, here's how science works. And hey, here's the scientific method. And hey, here's how the universe works. And here's, there are so many things that could have clearly been explicitly said. Instead, you're finding hidden analogies in poetry that you're thinking mean that they believed these things. Do you think if I were to pull one of those tribes people out from over 2,000 years ago and sat them here at this table and asked them, hey, what do you know about the nature of the universe? Do you think that they're going to agree with you? No, they're going to tell you about the firmament. Remember last week? There's somebody who actually thought if you sail south enough, you'll hit the wall. The dome.
Well, the firmament is just the atmosphere, really.
Well, do you think that person that we pulled from the past is going to agree with you?
Well, it doesn't matter if they agree with me because the word is of God. It doesn't matter if they understand
okay,
it.
perfect. It's divinely inspired.
Okay.
It doesn't matter whether or not those people, because you're wrong about that. Those people definitely would not agree with you. But, okay, so it's divinely inspired. Show me that it was divinely inspired. How do you know that it was divinely inspired?
Well, I just showed you a few examples.
No.
And also, it predicted the creation of Israel, the restoration of Israel, and the persecution of the Jewish people over millennia. It made a lot of prophecies. It also predicted that we would be in an age of more advanced informational connections and such.
Oh, no. Are you going to go into the revelation theory about how they talked about airplanes?
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
well,
that's
one. There's just so much proof. It's too much proof, honestly.
Just too much. So I highly advise that you take a look at history and see how people have been applying revelations to the time that they're in. That's why what you have here, this book, is a recipe for a doomsday cult. It is said that the generation would not pass before Jesus returned. And people have stretched all over the place to try and make that fit their narrative. But it's a doomsday cult, dude. And it's vague enough, right? Look up Barnum statements. Take a look at different, prophecies that are just vague enough that over time you might be able to find something that fits in. Right?
These prophecies are specific, though.
No, they're not.
The restoration of Israel was pretty specific.
Okay. Do you really want to go down that path? Because if you want to, then I can bring up a whole bunch of very, very silly prophecies. We can go down that path, and I guarantee you're going to lose, Tyler.
Yeah, I don't want to go down that path.
No, you don't.
No, you don't.
The claim you made. The Bible says, is this not the fast that I've chosen to loose the bands of wickedness, to let the oppressed go free, which proves that the Bible does not condemn slavery. It only allowed it for that time.
Okay, so your God thought that at one point owning people as property was okay.
It wasn't okay, but it was accepted, just like how it's...
No. Wait, what? Sorry.
The Old Testament allowed divorce, but it was clearly condemned in the New Testament. It allowed it, just like how U.S.
It's almost like it's inconsistent and written by multiple different people.
Almost. I mean, either it's that or that your God changed. Does your God change his mind very often?
No, he never changes his mind.
Okay,
well, you should read the Old Testament then, because...
He's never... Well, I have. That's what I'm saying. I was reading from the book of Jeremiah to you.
Right.
That's the thing. It only allowed slavery. He didn't condone it. Just like how the American society, our laws allow adultery.
So how hard would it have been for God to say, don't own people as property?
Well,
the definition of condone, to accept and allow.
Now, condone is saying, you're saying that it's good.
Condone, a verb, accept and allow to continue. So God condoned slavery officially, unless you're.
Well, no. Well, it's used with the positive connotation that he is that he wants it to happen, which he does not.
Well, then, if your God didn't want it to happen, then how come it doesn't say that?
Well, he did say that in the verse I gave you, where he was telling you to undo the heavy burdens and to let the oppressed go free, and that ye break every yoke. Right.
Okay. So
slavery.
So I want you to follow me back in time to pro-slavery arguments in the United States, and I want you to understand that there were a lot of churches that reached into the Bible to find verses that backed them up. Specifically, slaves be good to your masters, right? So it appears to me that we have a book that is so damn vague that people can take both sides of the issue. So it seems pretty useless to me for that. Oh, so you're right and they're wrong. Because why?
Well, because the Bible clearly states that you should break every yoke.
It also clearly stated slaves be good to your masters.
Break every yoke,
that was
make
just
an
non-resistance.
omelet.
That was just, okay, so can I justifiably kick out your verse?
What do you mean justifiably? No, I'm not saying that. No, the verse is good. It's a good verse.
I agree. I agree. You could be coincidentally right about things. And you could actually describe things that are decent. That doesn't mean the rest of the book is true.
Well,
right?
Yeah, I mean, that is true. I was just providing some evidence for it.
Yeah, the evidence is the book is true because I said it's true, and I know that it's divinely inspired because why?
Well, time, space, matter, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, is that a coincidence?
Yes.
The circle of the earth described in Job?
Yes.
Israel being restored? Okay, it's all coincidences?
Yes.
Okay,
absolutely.
So you're being willfully ignorant, as the Bible claims, that people will be in the future, which is another prediction that you are fulfilling.
Okay, so you're right because you're right. And we disagree with you, which means you're definitely super extra right. We gave you reasoning and showed you why there can be a ton of competing hypotheses. But no.
Well, yeah,
there's just the one that you're right, and then there's the one where everybody else is wrong, and that definitely shows that you're right.
Well, is that not
you are like living on this throne of impossible statements. How in the world could you possibly be wrong?
Well, that's the same thing with you, though. How could you be wrong? You're the one. See,
sure. I can show you. I can show you. I can show you. Get Jesus Christ to call in.
Says to test not the Lord.
So you're definitely right. I'm so glad. I am so glad that even with... Okay, so hold on. You asked me, hey, Eric, how could you be wrong? You're just as bad as me. No. I gave you an example, and no. It just proves that you're right. Try again, sir. I award you no points.
I was just providing evidence for my position. I'm not like...
It's bad evidence. Try again.
I know everything.
I don't know everything either, but I definitely can see that you have a whole lot of plot holes here, bud. There are a lot of places. You're leaking like a sieve.
Which one? Which plot hole?
Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Plot hole number 1. The Power Rangers don't exist. If you look at 3 things, that does not provide evidence that 3 other things exist. It's not.
It's not 3. It's 3 and 1.
I don't give a fuck. Tyler, listen. Those 3 things have nothing to do with the other ones. The triumvirate nature of God.
Yeah, the creation.
Hold on. The triumvirate nature of God is something that is either going to stand or fall on its own merits. Either that God is three distinct beings and is three gods, which makes you a polytheist, or that God is one being that you're describing qualities to that do not make it any more than one being, which means you are a monotheist. And
exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Exactly. So the Trinity is bullshit. I'm glad you agree.
That's not what I said. But
you just did. You just did. You just did.
I said he's one being. God is one being.
Okay. How is substantially? Give me some substance here. How is the Trinity? We've spent an amazing.
Okay, you can't disprove it.
I can't disprove it, dude. When there's so much smoke, when there's so much ambiguity that there's really nothing to pin down in the first place, I don't think there's a reason we have to try.
Well, it was a good call anyways. I did appreciate the call.
I did too. Tyler, please, let those arguments stand or fall on their own.
Well, I did, and you didn't provide any evidence to debunk it.
Yeah, listen back.
All right, which evidence debunks one being in three persons?
Sure. The identity, non-contradiction, excluded middle. The laws of logic debunks it.
And it's very nice we're even picking up this burden because it ain't ours.
Nope.
Well, not really. You can have one being in three persons.
We can talk to somebody who believes in 20 gods. It's still just a silly thing that we're going to engage with.
Well, yeah, believing in multiple gods is silly, but I want to believe in one God.
Well, I'm glad you're most of the way there. Yeah, sorry, dude. But yeah, if you want disproof, identity, non-contradiction, excluded middle, make that rational and make that jive with the Trinity. And if the answer is mysterious ways your human brains can't understand, it's a cop-out.
All right. Well, it was a very good conversation. I'm glad we talked about it. I'm going to call in the following weeks. I'm going to provide some more evidence for the God of the Bible.
I would love for you to start
good.
providing evidence. Maybe next time you can.
Yeah, continue providing evidence.
All right. Bye, Tyler.
Bye, Tyler. I think it's time to thank those patrons.
I think so.
I couldn't stop.
It was a downhill.
It was a dumpster fire that I just dove into.
You did. You went.
I swam in it, and I enjoyed it. There was something liberating about it.
Honestly, I was just impressed by how many different deepities he was able to get in there that I remembered from my entire family talks like that.
Yeah.
Just every single. Oh well, clearly.
Whoosh, side, coming from the side. Next one. Wow. Okay, right. Totally unrelated thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's moving the goalposts so much that as soon as you pin something down, well, that's not what we're talking about, B. Mm-hmm. And then when we stopped, and he agreed that the Trinity is like the Power Rangers, I just, my God.
We didn't even get into the whole doctrinal issues around the Trinity and how different church fathers and councils weighed in on that issue.
Agreed.